The observatory at Mauna Kea fell silent as Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her data readouts. Her hands trembled as she triple-checked the calculations. The signal patterns weren't random noise as everyone had assumed for the past decade. They were encrypted communications, thousands of them, crisscrossing Earth's orbit with increasing frequency. "Dr. Washington, you need to see this," she called out, her voice barely steady. The head of radio astronomy hurried over, his usual jovial expression fading as he examined her findings. The truth they uncovered that night would shake humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. Earth had been under surveillance for centuries. The Watchers called themselves the Meridian Alliance, a coalition of advanced civilizations that had achieved interstellar travel millennia ago. Their ships, cloaked by technology beyond human comprehension, had been stationed throughout the solar system, monitoring humanity's development with clinical detachment. The breakthrough that exposed their presence came not from any grand technological achievement, but from a simple pattern recognition algorithm Sarah had developed while studying deep space phenomena. The Meridian's encryption, perfect against their known adversaries, had never been designed to hide from a species that approached data analysis from such an unexpected angle. Within weeks, similar discoveries were made at observatories worldwide. Humanity's finest minds worked tirelessly to decrypt more of the intercepted communications. What they found was troubling. The Meridians weren't merely observing, they were assessing. Earth had been designated a Category 7 emergence event, a classification that carried ominous implications. Admiral James Torres sat in the Joint Chiefs Secure Briefing Room, reading the latest intelligence summary. "They're afraid of us," he said quietly, looking up at the assembled military and scientific leaders. "Not of what we are, but of what we're becoming." The decrypted messages revealed that humanity's rate of technological advancement had triggered automatic containment protocols. The Meridians had seen this pattern before. Young species that developed too quickly often became unstable, threatening the careful balance of galactic civilization. Their solution was always the same: technological regression. They would destroy key infrastructure, eliminate advanced knowledge bases, and leave the contained species to rebuild at a more acceptable pace. The plan to defend Earth began taking shape even before the Meridians realized their security had been compromised. Humanity's greatest advantage was that they knew the attack was coming, while their watchers still believed themselves invisible. Dr. Chen led the effort to track Meridian movements through their own communications network. Admiral Torres coordinated with military forces worldwide to develop countermeasures based on the fragments of intelligence they could gather. But it was Dr. Maya Patel's insight that would prove most crucial. "Their technology isn't actually more advanced than ours in every way," she explained to the emergency summit of world leaders. "It's just different. They've been improving the same basic systems for thousands of years, but we've been forced to solve similar problems through completely different methods. Our solutions might be crude by their standards, but they're also unpredictable." The first test of humanity's preparation came sooner than expected. A Meridian scout ship, dropping its cloak to perform routine maintenance, was shocked to find itself targeted by dozens of hastily modified radar systems. The ship's captain, following standard protocol, transmitted the signal to begin worldwide technological regression. Nothing happened. In the months since discovering the Meridian presence, humanity had been systematically identifying and modifying vulnerable systems. The Meridian captain's confusion was evident in their transmitted distress calls that Earth's defenders could now intercept and understand. The real shock came when the scout ship attempted to escape. Experimental gravitational sensors, developed using principles the Meridians had never considered, tracked its movement perfectly. The ship's crew barely had time to register their surprise before finding their vessel caught in a crude but effective electromagnetic containment field. As reinforcements from the Meridian fleet arrived in Earth orbit, they found their quarry had become the hunter. Humanity had turned their own surveillance against them, transforming decades of careful observation into a blueprint for resistance. The first battle for Earth's future was about to begin, and humanity's greatest weapon would be the very thing that had alarmed the Meridians in the first place. Their relentless drive to innovate, adapt, and overcome. The captured Meridian scout ship became humanity's greatest asset, not for its advanced technology, most of which self-destructed upon capture, but for something far more valuable: its database of standard combat protocols. For millennia, the Meridians had refined their military doctrine into an art form, every response optimized through countless engagements, but they had never faced an enemy who could predict their every move. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Santos stood in the makeshift command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching holographic projections of Meridian fleet movements. "They're following formation pattern Delta 7, she announced, just like the database said they would. The Meridian response to Earth's defiance had been massive but methodical. Hundreds of ships dropped their cloaking devices, arranging themselves in time-tested attack formations. Their commanders expected a swift victory over a primitive world. Instead, they found their carefully choreographed assault disrupted at every turn. "They're so predictable it's almost sad," Dr. Chen remarked, working alongside military strategists to anticipate Meridian maneuvers. 10,000 years of warfare, and they've never had to fundamentally rethink their approach. Humanity's greatest innovation wasn't technological, it was conceptual. While the Meridians had perfected space combat, humans had spent centuries developing warfare in three-dimensional environments, submarine warfare. The principles were surprisingly applicable. Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet didn't try to match Meridian ships in direct combat. Instead, they employed tactics inspired by underwater warfare, using planetary gravity wells and solar radiation as natural phenomena to mask movements and launch ambushes. The Meridian's advanced sensors, designed to detect specific energy signatures, were blind to these primitive but effective methods. Dr. Patel's team made another crucial discovery. "Their neural interfaces are amazing," she explained during an emergency briefing. "But they've made their commanders dependent on computer-assisted decision-making. They literally can't process battlefield changes as quickly as a human brain working on instinct." This insight led to Operation Chaos Theory. While Meridian ships maneuvered with perfect precision, human vessels deliberately introduced randomness into their movements. They violated every principle of space combat the Meridians had established, creating patterns so illogical they overloaded the enemy's tactical computers. The space around Earth became a graveyard for Meridian certainty. Their ships, each one a technological marvel, found themselves outwitted by vessels that shouldn't have been able to scratch their paint. Humanity's inferior weapons proved devastating simply because they were aimed at weak points the Meridians had never thought to defend against. Admiral Torres watched from the Lunar Command Center as another Meridian battle group fell into disarray. "They keep trying to impose order on chaos," he observed. "That's not how you survive chaos. You ride it." The turning point came when the Meridians attempted to adapt, trying to match humanity's unpredictability. The result was disastrous for them. Their crews, trained to follow optimal solutions, found themselves paralyzed by uncertainty. Ships collided as commanders hesitated without their computer-assisted guidance. Coordinated attacks fell apart as individual captains made conflicting improvisations. "They're not just fighting us," Dr. Chen realized, watching the Meridian fleet's disintegration. "They're fighting against 10,000 years of their own doctrine. Every time they try to think outside their box, they second-guess themselves." But humanity's advantage came with a terrible cost. Earth's victories were bought with countless lives, each engagement a desperate gamble. The Meridians might be predictable, but their technology was still vastly superior. Every successful ambush, every tactical innovation was paid for in human blood. As the second week of combat drew to a close, the Meridian fleet withdrew to regroup. They had lost over 30% of their ships, an unprecedented defeat. But intercepted communications revealed a darker truth. The Meridians were calling for reinforcements. More importantly, they were requesting permission to deploy weapon systems previously deemed too destructive for containment operations. "They're scared," Lieutenant Commander Santos said, analyzing the decoded transmissions. For the first time in their history, they're facing an enemy they can't quantify or predict. And that terrifies them more than any conventional threat. The real question was whether humanity could find a way to capitalize on that fear before the Meridians brought their full might to bear. The window of opportunity was closing, and Earth needed more than clever tactics to survive what was coming. The discovery came from an unexpected source, a maintenance log in the captured scout ship's database. Dr. Maya Patel was reviewing it for the 1,000th time when she noticed something odd. Routine stops at worlds that weren't listed in any official Meridian star charts. They're hiding something, she told the Emergency Council. These worlds are systematically excluded from all formal documentation, but ships visit them regularly for containment monitoring. The truth was more significant than anyone had imagined. Earth wasn't the first world to face Meridian containment. Dozens of civilizations across the galaxy had been deliberately suppressed, kept in technological stasis by regular interventions. Some had been contained for thousands of years, their development frozen at whatever point the Meridians deemed appropriate. Captain Sarah Rodriguez piloted humanity's first diplomatic mission through the ruins of the Meridian blockade. Her ship, the Magellan, carried Earth's most ambitious gamble yet. If they couldn't match the Meridians' technology, perhaps they could match their numbers. The first contact was with the Varen, a species whose industrial revolution had been artificially halted 3 centuries ago. Their world was a steampunk dreamscape of brass and steam, carefully maintained at that level by periodic Meridian adjustments. They told us we were unstable, the Varen chief engineer explained, his copper-colored scales reflecting lamplight. That rapid advancement would destroy us. We believed them. Until now. Similar stories emerged from every suppressed world they visited. The Meridians hadn't just contained these civilizations, they had convinced them it was for their own good. But humanity's resistance had cracked that facade. The Nexer, silicon-based beings who had been blocked from developing quantum computing, joined first. Then came the Elari, whose bioengineering breakthroughs had terrified the Meridians centuries ago. World after world, species after species, the supposedly unstable civilizations began to rise. Admiral Torres watched the coalition grow from his new headquarters on Mars. The Meridians' greatest mistake, he observed, was putting all their dangerous eggs in one basket. They never imagined we'd find each other. Each species brought unique perspectives and technologies the Meridians had never anticipated. The Varen's mastery of mechanical systems proved surprisingly effective against Meridian energy shields. Nexer crystal computing offered new ways to counter Meridian cyber warfare. Elari Biotech provided healing capabilities that kept coalition forces fighting despite heavy casualties. But it was humanity's gift for integration, for taking disparate pieces and forging them into something new, that truly transformed the coalition into a fighting force. Earth became a crucible where technologies and theories the Meridians had suppressed for millennia finally mixed and evolved. Dr. Chen led the effort to synthesize these different approaches. The Meridians succeeded for so long because they kept everyone in separate boxes, she explained. But put us together, and we create possibilities they never imagined. The first major coalition victory came at the Battle of Proxima Centauri. A Meridian fleet, expecting to find a primitive human colony, instead faced ships that combined Varen mechanics, Nexer computing, and Elari Biotech with human tactical innovations. The result was devastating. The Meridians' perfect formations shattered against defenses that shouldn't have existed and attacks that shouldn't have been possible. But the coalition's greatest weapon was hope. As news of their successes spread, more suppressed civilizations rose up. The Meridians found themselves fighting brushfires across the galaxy, their resources stretched thin trying to maintain their system of containment. They never understood what they were really containing. Captain Rodriguez told a gathering of coalition leaders. It wasn't technology they needed to fear. It was the spirit of defiance, the unwillingness to accept artificial limitations. the drive to become more than what others decide we should be. Yet even as the coalition grew stronger, the Meridians were mobilizing forces unlike anything they'd deployed before. Intercepts suggested they were preparing to abandon containment protocols entirely. If they couldn't control these species, they would eliminate them. The question now was whether the coalition's combined innovation could overcome the Meridians' raw technological superiority. The next phase of the war would test not just their weapons and tactics, but their very right to exist as free civilizations. When the Meridian warfleets returned, they'd brought weapons that could crack planets. Their message was clear: submit or be destroyed. But in the months they'd spent gathering their forces, the coalition had been busy transforming theoretical sciences into practical weapons. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the coalition's new research center beneath the Martian surface, watching as human quantum physicists worked alongside Nexar crystal engineers and LRE bioengineers. The Meridians' greatest weakness, she declared, is that they stopped asking, what if thousands of years ago? The breakthrough came from combining technologies the Meridians had deliberately kept separate. Human quantum theory merged with Nexar crystal computing created something unprecedented: predictive probability manipulation. LRE biotech interfaced with Varan mechanical systems, produced ships that could heal and adapt during battle. Each innovation alone meant little against Meridian superiority. Together, they changed the rules of warfare. Admiral Torres called it the convergence doctrine. Instead of matching Meridian technology directly, coalition forces focused on creating effects the enemy couldn't predict or counter. Ships equipped with probability drives didn't just dodge attacks, they influenced the likelihood of those attacks succeeding in the first place. The first test of these new technologies came at the Battle of Alpha Centauri. The Meridians arrived with a fleet designed to obliterate all resistance. They found instead a coalition armada that seemed to defy physics itself. Probability drives made coalition ships appear to be in multiple places simultaneously. Living metal hulls absorb damage and evolve new defenses in real time. They're trying to process what they're seeing through the lens of their existing science, Lieutenant Commander Santos observed from the bridge of the flagship Terra Nova. But we're not playing by their rules anymore. The Meridian response was predictable: escalation. They deployed weapons that could potentially destroy their own ships just to ensure hitting their targets. But the coalition had anticipated this. Varan engineers had developed a system they called the echo chamber. It caught enemy fire in a recursive loop of probability, turning the Meridians' own weapons against them. Dr. Chen's quantum analysis team made another crucial discovery. The Meridians' technological advancement isn't just stagnant, she reported. It's fundamentally limited by their first principles. They've perfected what they know, but they've forgotten how to question those basic assumptions. This insight led to Operation Paradigm Shift. Instead of trying to win battles in normal space, coalition forces began manipulating the underlying fabric of reality itself. They didn't need stronger weapons. They changed the laws of physics locally to make Meridian technology less effective. The war transformed into something the galaxy had never seen. Battles were fought not just with ships and weapons, but with competing versions of reality itself. Coalition vessels surfed probability waves through impossible spaces, while Meridian fleets found their carefully calculated maneuvers disrupted by localized changes in physical constants. But the true revolution wasn't military. It was philosophical. The coalition proved that innovation itself was the most powerful force in the universe. Every defeat taught them something new. Every setback sparked fresh innovations. While the Meridians could only perfect their existing technology, the coalition was inventing entirely new fields of science. They see technology as a ladder, Captain Rodriguez explained to a gathering of coalition scientists. Something to climb step by step. We see it as an ocean, vast, unknown, with countless directions to explore. The Meridians' response to their mounting losses proved Dr. Chen's analysis correct. Unable to adapt to warfare they couldn't quantify, they resorted to increasingly desperate measures. They began deploying doomsday weapons, caring little for collateral damage. Entire star systems were threatened with destruction. The Coalition's answer was characteristically innovative. Rather than try to defend against these ultimate weapons, they developed technology to evacuate entire populations into probability space, effectively removing the Meridian's targets while preserving civilian lives. As the war entered its final phase, the fundamental nature of galactic civilization hung in the balance. The Meridian's vision of controlled, predictable progress faced off against the Coalition's embrace of unlimited potential. But victory would require more than just military success. It would demand a complete reimagining of how civilizations could coexist. The final battle began not with weapons, but with a message. Transmitted simultaneously across every frequency the Meridians used, it contained a simple truth they could no longer deny. Their system of control had become the very source of instability they claimed to prevent. Dr. Sarah Chen, now serving as the Coalition's chief diplomat, stood before the hastily convened Galactic Council, the first time contained species had ever been permitted to address this august body. "You fear chaos," she told the assembled Meridian elders. "But look what your fear has created. A war that threatens to tear reality itself apart." The evidence was undeniable. The Meridians' attempt to maintain perfect order had forced the Coalition to develop technologies that destabilized the very foundations of spacetime. Probability storms raged across formerly peaceful sectors. Entire star systems existed in quantum superposition, neither fully present nor absent from normal space. Admiral Torres, his fleet holding position outside the Meridian capital system, watched as the Coalition's final gambit unfolded. Sometimes, he mused, the only way to save civilization is to prove you're willing to risk everything to change it. The Coalition's proposal was revolutionary. Replace the Meridian system of containment with one of guided emergence. Instead of suppressing developing civilizations, advanced species would mentor them, helping them navigate the challenges of rapid technological growth. Progress isn't the enemy, Dr. Paddle explained to the Council. Isolation is. When civilizations face challenges alone, they're more likely to destroy themselves. But together, we can help each other grow safely. The Meridian Council was divided. Conservative factions called for one final apocalyptic strike against the Coalition. But others, particularly younger Meridians who had fought in the war, saw the wisdom in change. They had witnessed firsthand how innovation and adaptation had trumped their perfect but static technology. The turning point came from an unexpected source. The LRA, masters of bioengineering, had developed a way to share memories and experiences directly between species. They offered this technology to the Meridian leadership, not as a weapon, but as a bridge of understanding. "Experience our journey," Captain Rodriguez invited them. "Feel what it means to be contained, to be told your dreams must have limits. Then decide if that's really the legacy you want to leave in this galaxy." The shared experience changed everything. For the first time in millennia, the Meridians felt the passion, fear, hope, and determination of emerging civilizations. They understood finally that their perfect order had come at the cost of something precious: the right of every species to find its own path. The peace that followed wasn't just a cessation of hostilities. It was a complete restructuring of galactic society. The Meridians' vast knowledge would be shared freely, but so would the Coalition's innovations. Every civilization, regardless of their technological level, would have a voice in galactic affairs. Dr. Chen led the effort to establish the new Galactic Exchange, a forum where civilizations could share discoveries, warn of dangers, and help each other overcome challenges. The former suppressed worlds became centers of innovation, their long-contained potential finally unleashed. "We're not just changing how civilizations interact," Admiral Torres observed at the signing of the Galactic Concordat. "We're changing what it means to be an advanced species. Progress isn't about having the most powerful technology. It's about having the wisdom to help others achieve their potential." The probability storms gradually calmed as the Coalition's emergency measures were withdrawn. But the changes they represented became permanent. The galaxy would never return to the Meridian's ordered stagnation. Instead, it embraced a new kind of stability, one built on diversity, innovation, and mutual support. Years later, as humanity helped guide its first emerging civilization, Dr. Paddle reflected on their journey. The Meridians weren't wrong to fear uncontrolled advancement. She said, they were just wrong about the solution. The answer to chaos isn't control, it's cooperation. In the end, that's humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. The understanding that we're all stronger when we rise together. The age of containment was over. The age of emergence had begun.